A lot of fascist talk in the news recently. Kamala Harris finally said it. Not just agreed or nodded along or said something adjacently supportive to the idea that Donald Trump is a fascist when he's a fascist. It's absolute. There's no argument about it. I'm not going to break out the classroom aid of the 14 defining characteristics of fascism that Donald Trump ticks the box on every single one. But now there's a statement that's been released by Leader McConnell, the minority leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, and Mike Johnson, a joint statement. And they are chastising Kamala Harris for finally saying that Donald Trump is a fascist. I'm not going to read the whole statement to you. It's here. I'll just throw it up on screen for a few seconds while I'm talking here, so you can pause and read it if you'd like. But someone did have something to say. Broke in. This is breaking news. This is just being released right now. I'm Harris Faulkner, and the news side of Fox News. She talks about this and says some of the stupidest things that you've ever heard about fascists, about Antifa, about Donald Trump, about Kamala Harris. And she's talking to Sean Duffy, the failed former congressman from Wisconsin. And he says, again, I don't know where they get these idiots, but it's blue light special time at the Kmart. That's the bottom of the barrel. You know that the giant barrels of like DVDs that they have? This is where they're getting their talent. It's the bottom of that bin of discounted DVDs. And anyway, my metaphors notwithstanding, they're terrible today. It's okay. I'm not feeling great. Watch this, and then we're going to play a real fun clip that I couldn't have done any better. It's from Jake Tapper, who seems to have woken up for some reason. Maybe he does see the danger that this election actually poses to the rest of America. And he did something funny. Anyway, here is Harris Faulkner, a real journalist, and dipshit Sean Duffy.
This just came in just seconds ago. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell have put out a very rare joint statement. It condemns Vice President Kamala Harris's recent rhetoric. And here's a quote. "We call on the Vice President to take these threats seriously, stop escalating the threat environment, and help ensure President Trump has the necessary resources to be protected from those threats." End quote. Look, this is serious, and I don't know if politics are ever a reason to do wrong. What needs to happen next?
Well, I think this is a great statement, Harris, because after November 5th, we have to come back together as a country. And if you're using this language against Donald Trump, what you're really saying is half of America, those who support him, are also fascists. Those are also Nazis. And it's really hard to come back and unify as a country if one half thinks the other half are Nazis. And so, again, campaigns are tough. Use tough language, use aggressive language. But this kind of language makes it hard to put that family back together. And this country, more than anything, needs the American family back together.
I love hearing you say that. And it makes me think, too, this is hate speech now. I mean, you're quoting Antifa, which the F stands for fascism. So now are these just the glorified, more better paid members of Antifa on the left? The vice president, wouldn't she want to separate herself from that? And by the way, they were a cause of a lot of the rioting that went on, not the peaceful protesting, but the rioting that went on post George Floyd. I mean, it is. It's like a glorified, overpaid group of left leaders now as part of Antifa. It's a question. I wonder if that's how they see themselves.
Well, listen, I think they're channeling their worst angels, right? And they're called to better rhetoric. And again, you cannot use this language and think it's going to work to win an election. And you have to think beyond just this moment. And if you're so hungry for power, which is what I think is happening here, they so want to retain power and they so hate Donald Trump that they'll break any norm, they'll break any institution to actually retain that power that they've had for the last 4 years. And again, Peter Navarro, going to prison. They're trying to send Donald Trump to prison.
Well, Biden
Steve
just
Bannon
said,
is actually still in prison.
Lock him up politically.
They're kidding, right? I mean, that's got to be a bit. That's a gag, right? That's a joke. Sean Duffy. We have to come together as a country, says the guy who's supporting Donald Trump for president of the United States, the most divisive candidate maybe in the history of American politics. And if you're going to use this language against Donald Trump, what you're really saying is half of America, those who support him, are also fascist. Those are also Nazis. I hate to be the one to break it to you, brother, but all Nazis are fascist, but not all fascists are Nazis. I know logic is a tough thing for you. Maybe you need to take an intro to critical thinking at your local community college. It would do you well, sir. But this kind of language makes it hard to put that family back together. He bemoans the division on the part of Kamala Harris. And this country, and more than anything, needs the American family back. To which she says, this is hate speech. Kamala Harris one time agreeing with Donald Trump's chief of staff and Donald Trump's chairman of the Joint Chiefs, people who have worked for Donald Trump closely in direct proximity to Donald Trump. They say he's a fascist. She agrees, and all of a sudden there's all this hand-wringing about it, ignoring the fact that Donald Trump has called Kamala Harris and Democrats fascists dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But the hilarious thing is when this idiot says, this is hate speech now. I mean, you are quoting Antifa, which the FA stands for fascism. One, the FA stands for fascist. But what's the part that you left out of the Antifa? Anti-fascist. Yeah, the FA stands for fascism, does it? These freaking people. So stupid. But they are appealing to a Fox News audience who is going to swallow this hook, line, and sinker. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. It stands for fascism, the FA. So here is, I was going to do this very thing, and then I saw this clip. So Jake Tapper did the work for me. Thanks, CNN team. This is why this is so laughable. These people who are hand-wringing and bedwetting and pearl-clutching, crocodile tears flowing from their faces about a Democrat who dares call Donald Trump a fascist, because that's division. That's dangerous to do that. Is it? Watch Jake Tapper dispense with that stupid argument.
Okay, so the two Republican leaders expressing concern about Kamala Harris calling Donald Trump a fascist. Let's show an example of Harris doing exactly what McConnell and Johnson are taking issue with.
She's a Marxist, communist, fascist, socialist.
I'm sorry, the control room, that was actually Donald Trump calling Kamala Harris a fascist in September. Control room, are you ready? Please run the clip of Kamala Harris calling Donald Trump a fascist, which offended the Republican leaders.
Somebody's got to explain this woman. This is a radical left, Marxist, communist, fascist.
Okay, again, I'm sorry. That was Trump calling Harris a fascist. I apologize. Control room, can we get it together? Johnson and McConnell are very upset that Kamala Harris called Donald Trump a fascist. Please roll the clip.
We have a fascist person running who's incompetent, and we have a president who's not even around.
Guys, I'm trying to show the clip of Donald Trump being called a fascist. That's what Speaker Johnson and Leader McConnell are really worried about. And you keep running different clips of Trump calling her a fascist. Please, humor me. Humor me.
Authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Okay, so that was Donald Trump being called a fascist, but not by Kamala Harris. That is retired Marine General John Kelly, Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, coming to the conclusion that Donald Trump is a fascist in his view. Guys, she did say this. She said it here on CNN. Don't you have a clip from CNN? We have got to stop him, Milley said. You have got to stop him. By you, he meant the press broadly. Quote, he is the most dangerous person ever. I had suspicions when I talked to you about his mental decline and so forth, but now I realize he's a total fascist. Okay, so that was from CNN, but that was me reading a quote from former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Milley, who Trump appointed. Milley calling Trump a fascist in an interview with Bob Woodward. That wasn't Harris calling him a fascist. Control room, come on. I know we have this clip somewhere from CNN. Come on, show it.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Thank you. My control room going a little bit rogue there and making a point, perhaps. This is obviously what Mike Johnson and Mitch McConnell are worried about Kamala Harris, agreeing with the words of some of the people who have worked closely with Trump in the Oval Office in the Situation Room. That's what they have an issue with, not Trump using these very same words.
I don't know what took so long for some members of the CNN team to do this, but this is good. This is what we need. This is the job, the constitutionally protected job of the free press to do their job. Anyway, fantastic. Couldn't have done it better, and that's why I let him do it for me. Also, kind of lazy. Who knows? I'd love to know what you think. You can comment below. You can also leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work. Click the join button below, become a channel member. $1.99 a month is what it will take. Or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. I am on social media, having a terrible time there. At Dollemore, if you want to join me in that terrible time, that's where you can find me. At Dollemore, everywhere. There's social media. I'll see you next time. I appreciate you. I love and appreciate your engagement, your activism, your passion for making this country, and by extension, I think, the world, a better place. Be genuine. Take care of one another.